Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy's 2025 Star Wars movie has a very interesting update. The movie announced at Star Wars Celebration that will feature the return of Daisy Ridley as Rey has gotten fans asking questions about what the galaxy is going to look like 15 years after the Rise of Skywalker, and amongst these is what kind of villain is Rey and her new Jedi Order going to be up against? Is it the return of the Sith, a new dark side order, something related to the Grisk, or another entity in the unknown regions? Well, a new rumour claims to have the answer, and it's rather eyebrow-raising. According to the same source that told us that Dave Filoni's film is going to be titled Heir to the Empire, Idris Elba is going to feature as the main villain of the Rey movie. They say he's in talks with Lucasfilm for the role, a mystery role. There is very little information on this at this current time, and the sources reporting this are rather questionable. Not too reliable, but it is worth noting Idris Elba being in the Star Wars universe is something that's been rumoured for a number of months. Just a reminder, Stephen Knight of Peaky Blinders is the one doing the screenplay for the film, after Damon Lindelof walked away from the project. At this stage, we can only speculate about the role. If talks go well between Idris Elba and Lucasfilm, Star Wars is not the first sci-fi franchise the actor's been involved in, having featured in 2016's Star Trek Beyond. As I said guys, this is just a wild rumour at this stage, nothing is confirmed, and please take this with a massive grain of salt. But it wouldn't be too surprising to have the calibre of Idris Elba in a film like this, in a movie that Lucasfilm is trying very hard to brand as the big comeback of Star Wars on the big screen. A high-profile, very respected actor like Idris would be a great way to do something different for Star Wars, and it would certainly catch the attention of fans, considering he's playing a new character and is widely considered one of the very best of his time. In other Star Wars news, a very big development on the gaming front. Dominic Rebelliard, the director behind the cancelled Star Wars 1313 game, and more recently the creative director at PlayStation, has joined Amy Hennig at Skydance New Media, and they're going to be working on a Star Wars game together. Here's what they say. Dominic announced the move on LinkedIn, writing, quote, "I'm incredibly excited to share I will be joining Amy Hennig, Julian Beek, and the incredible team at Skydance New Media as their game director." He also confirms he's going to be working on Marvel and Star Wars games again. Could this mean a revival of 1313? Let's wait and see. Fingers crossed, that was a game a lot of fans were anticipating. So back to the movie side of things, Jeff Snyder has revealed he thinks the writer's strike is going to be over by fall, meaning The Mandalorian Season 4 could still film in November, but he also says that James Mangold will begin writing Dawn of the Jedi, his Star Wars movie, in October. The current rumour is that the 2025 film is going to be the Rey one, then 2026, a year later, it's going to be Dave Filoni's film, the one set during The Mandalorian, and then a year or two after that, James Mangold's film about the original Jedi. During the most recent episode of The Hot Mic, Snyder was talking about Mangold's upcoming schedule when discussing his involvement in DC Studios' Swamp Thing. The Logan director has also been attached for a few years to direct a Bob Dylan biopic starring Timothée Chalamet, and Indiana Jones 5, which he also directed, is due out later this month. They mention that Mangold is going to start writing his film this October, as long as the writer's strike has ended by then. Mangold is not a member of the Writers Guild of America, but said at the Cannes Film Festival he supports the writers and is not going to work on any scripts until solidarity is shown. Now, this writer's strike has complicated the Star Wars schedule going forward. Stephen Knight was supposed to turn in his Star Wars script for the 2025 film by May, before the stoppage was announced. Given the strike, the deadline has been extended until further notice. Before the strike, Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy's film was targeting a December 2025 release, and now it's kind of uncertain. That is no longer guaranteed as a result of these delays, but fingers crossed they don't last for too long, the writers get what they're asking for, solidarity is shown, and things can resume as normal. And so moving on to Andor Season 2, Tony Gilroy teases some big cameos coming in the second season. We've explored this in great depth. We've outlined numerous characters who are likely going to feature in this show, but now he says there are going to be some surprise ones too. When speaking with Entertainment Weekly, he said the following: "Of course, the answer is yes. There are some that are inevitable, and in this moment he was talking about Rogue One characters, but there are also some that are surprising. He said there were some they wanted to include but couldn't for various reasons, but there are a few that are going to make fans very happy indeed. In the past we spoke about the importance of Yavin 4, some of those early Rebel Alliance members. We're going to see a retelling of how K2SO met Cassian. They're probably going to do something a bit different from the comics, and then of course you have other Rebel members. We might see Princess Leia, some members of the Ghost Crew. They're going to make their live action debut further down the timeline in Star Wars Ahsoka first. But the second season of Andor promises something very special, and it's not just due to these cameos, but the stakes as we approach the events of Rogue One. Share your thoughts in the comments down below. And so now, my dear friends, just to finish on something very different, an alternate take from the Rise of Skywalker. Episode 9's ending was very controversial. A lot of fans did not like the fact that Rey gave herself the name Skywalker. There is an argument to be made though that she did spend a lot of time with Leia and Luke, and continued the legacy of the Skywalkers, even using Anakin's lightsaber, but many fans thought she should have gone by Palpatine and changed the meaning of such a despised name to something positive, put a spin on it. But in my opinion, the alternate version changes everything. While she still declares herself Rey Skywalker, there is more emotion. It's not as confident as the final version we got. There is hesitation and almost a sense of daringness and fear in her voice. I much prefer that version, as the emotional and teary-eyed response conveys her growth so much better. It's almost like there's a decision to be made in that moment, where the old woman asks her who she is. It's a moment of realization. It's not something she thought of before. Adopting the Skywalker name is more fitting. Check it out, guys, and let me know what you think. Here's the original version,
Rey Skywalker.
and now here's the alternate version.
Rey Skywalker.
As you can see, there is a bit more emotional depth. The whole tone of the scene changes, at least I think so. Now, when it comes to online fan discourse about Rise, I've noticed fans are not as passionate either way compared to something like The Last Jedi. I don't think it's as divisive as a film. Fans of The Last Jedi feel as though the film spent a lot of time undoing a lot of tropes from Rian Johnson's film, and those fans who didn't like The Last Jedi tend to find more favour with Episode 9 because it tries to play it safe in so many ways. From my point of view, the characters from those films deserved so much better. And much of the film feels rushed. That being said, what Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are doing with the Mandoverse, which is to build up to the setting and the context of the sequel era very slowly, is gonna make them make more sense, maybe even what the Clone Wars did for the prequels. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I'm not the biggest fan of 9, but I can appreciate certain aspects of all 11 Star Wars films, even those I don't like as much as the prequels and the original trilogy. Every now and then we do get a tidbit from a producer or writer, or maybe even clips like this one, where fans can take a step back, reminisce over what could have been, and think about certain aspects of Disney Star Wars movies more deeply. Some of that fan discussion can be very heated and unproductive, but this is the first time I saw this clip and I'm very curious to see what you guys think. And I do think it brings light to the message that is central to the galaxy far, far away, family, and in the case of recent Disney Star Wars, found family, whether it's The Mandalorian, The Bad Batch. So say what you will about Rey and her journey, I do think she deserved better, but this version I think is a little bit improved. And so when it comes to the Rey Skywalker stuff, I think a fair take is to say she's an honorary Skywalker. She was able to set aside the darkness of her genetic birth name and forge her own identity, her own path. Found family is very important. That was the central message of Rey. As I say, I'm not the biggest sequel fan, so I do hope the film in 2025 can do the character justice, better written, with a much more complete story. But what do you guys think of this scene? Is it better than the original? Do you think it's the same? Share your thoughts in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, my dear friends, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, may the Force be with you, always.